Most people think the biggest risk in retirement is running out of money, but the real danger, and the one that never really gets attention, is far more subtle. It's fear. Fear costs retirees more than they ever realize. It costs them money they never spend, time they never get back, and memories and experiences they never get to have. And data shows just how common and how damaging fear really is. Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to break down just how costly fear can be. We're going to use some of the strongest research from Vanguard, JP Morgan, Rand, Fidelity, the Wall Street Journal, Morningstar, and more. Let's start with the part that scares people the most, the financial side. 1. Retirees withdraw far less than they safely can. The Wall Street Journal found that married retirees 65 plus with at least $100,000 in financial assets withdrew just 2.1 of their savings annually, far below the traditional 4% rule. Multiple retirement researchers note that many Americans withdraw about 2% or less, often because they're afraid to spend their own savings. And 2, a huge portion never touch their accounts at all. Vanguard's 2025 retirement analysis shows that 27% of retirees never withdraw from their retirement accounts in the first 5 years after retiring. About 1 in 4 retirees leave their savings completely untouched, even when they don't need to. And 3, many die with more money than they retired with. Research from BlackRock and Vanguard both show that many retirees end life with more money than they started retirement with, and not because they intended to, but because they were afraid to spend. A retiree with $1 million portfolio who only withdraws about 2% instead of 4% leaves about $1 million unspent over the course of a 30-year retirement. Just think about that. That's money that could have been trips with your family, memories with your grandkids, healthier, more active experiences, a richer, fuller life. But instead, it just sits there, unused, untouched, and really unlived. The money you leave in your account isn't just safe, it's also unused potential. Here's what fear really does to your money. Fear turns retirement into another job. For many, retirement doesn't feel relaxing, it feels like another job. Many retirees spend their day checking their balances, monitoring the market, second-guessing every choice they make. In fact, some retirees say they feel guilty anytime they take money out of their portfolio. And data backs this up. A Fidelity behavioral study found that during periods of market volatility, retirees check their accounts 5 times more often than usual. So instead of enjoying the freedom they spent decades saving for, they end up feeling on call for their own finances. In a way, retirement becomes another job. Fear doesn't just cost you money, it can take away that peace of mind you are supposed to gain. Also, there's the emotional tax of never enough. One of the sneakiest ways fear shows up in retirement is through this constant feeling of, I don't have enough. And here's the thing, that feeling doesn't go away just because your balance grows. Northwestern Mutual's research found that Americans believe they need about $1.8 million to feel financially secure, but the typical retiree has around $250,000. Even retirees with 7-figure portfolios say the same thing. They say, I look at it on paper and I know I have enough, but I don't feel like I have enough. That's the emotional tax of fear. It convinces you that no matter how hard you work, no matter how much you've saved, you're still behind, even when you're not. And fear doesn't just live in your portfolio, it lives in your mind. And more than anything, it robs you of this safety you've already earned. Fear often pushes people into the wrong financial products. Another hidden cost of fear is that it can quietly influence the decisions that retirees make. Because of fear, many retirees are nudged into decisions that feel safe now, but actually hurt them in the long run financially. Nationwide found that 40% of retirees choose strategies built around maximum safety, minimum growth, simply because they're afraid. And JP Morgan reports that 60% of retirees are invested too conservatively for their time horizon, meaning their money isn't working for them the way it could. And just what does this fear-driven mindset lead to? Unnecessary and expensive annuities, permanent life insurance that doesn't fit their needs, oversized cash positions earning low returns, years or sometimes decades of long-term underperformance. So even if a retiree never feels like they're making a big mistake, the accumulation of these decisions can slowly erode their financial future. Because fear doesn't just keep you from spending, it shrinks the future your money could have otherwise created for you. But money isn't the most expensive cost of fear. The next one is even bigger. Fear costs you time. 48% of financially capable retirees delay retirement because of fear. And delaying retirement 2 to 3 years often reduces life satisfaction. Stanford's Center on Longevity found that working longer, not because you love your job, but because you're afraid to retire, reduces life satisfaction and robs you of your healthiest, most active years. You've probably heard this before, or heck, maybe you even said it to yourself. I'll retire once I hit 1.2 million. But then something happens. You hit 1.2 million, but it doesn't feel like enough. So you shift the goal. It moves to 1.3 million, and then 1.5 million, and then maybe 2 million just to be safe. And before you know it, years have gone by. And not just any years, your healthiest, most vibrant years. The years where you could have traveled the most, made the most memories, had the most experiences. And those are years you can't get back. Fear doesn't just delay retirement, it delays living. If you've delayed anything, it's important to know this. The delay isn't irresponsible. We delay because we're scared and because we're human. But it is also important to remember you can make more money, but you can't make more time. Here are some of the ways fear quietly takes your time. The opportunity cost of delayed joy. One of the most heartbreaking costs of fear is the joy it delays. According to the Consumer Expenditure Survey from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, spending on travel, leisure, and experiences peaks around age 65 to 70 and then declines sharply. Not because people lose interest, but because energy, mobility, and health change. So when you tell yourself, not yet, I'll do it later, that might feel responsible in the moment, but those not yet years, you can't get them back. And here's a truth many retirees don't realize until it's too late. You don't want to hit the age of 80 and realize that you saved perfectly for the experiences you're not healthy enough to enjoy. Another way fear shows up in retirement is by making your plan far more rigid than it needs to be. So many retirees lock themselves into one withdrawal number, one rule, one pattern, and then they stay there for decades, even when their portfolio could safely support more. Here's what the data shows. Michael Kitcey's guardrail analysis found that in strong market years, retirees can often double their withdrawals without increasing their long-term risk of running out of money. In other words, the market gives retirees opportunities, but they're often opportunities that most retirees never take. And why is that? Because fear keeps them stuck. Even when their portfolio grows, even when all of the data says you can spend more, the fear keeps them stuck on a withdrawal that they chose decades ago. Fear turns a flexible 30-year plan into a rigid one-size-fits-all rule. And in the process, it causes people to miss out on years of potential joy, travel, and experiences. Fear traps you in a 30-year plan that ignores all the upside you could have enjoyed. One of the most painful consequences of fear is how long it keeps people working, even when their heart, their energy, and sometimes even their health are telling them it's time to stop. Merrill and AgeWave found that over 40% of retirees say they waited too long to retire. Not because they loved their job, not because they weren't financially ready, but because they were afraid to step away. They were scared of the unknown, scared of spending their savings, scared of making a mistake they couldn't fix, scared that saving just a little bit more might make them feel safer. And while they kept working out of fear, they ended up trading the years that were the most vibrant, where they had the most energy, where they would have been able to travel and health wouldn't have held them back. Those are years you can't replace, and fear takes them quietly, 1 year at a time. Fear steals the most valuable part of retirement, the years where you're healthiest enough to actually enjoy it. And this third cost, this one is the hardest to face. Memories and experiences. Real spending declines steadily with age. Rand's retirement study shows that spending declines 1.7% per year for singles and about 2.4% per year for couples after age 65. Total spending drops sharply later in life. The Bureau of Labor Statistics Consumer Expenditure Survey said that for those ages 55 to 64, typical spending is about $56,000 a year. For those ages 75 plus, typical spending is about $37,000 a year. That's roughly a 35% decline. And the categories that disappear the fastest are the ones that create the most memories. Travel, entertainment, child or family activities, and experiences. Every year you wait, or every time you say not yet, you're not just delaying a trip, you're postponing the memories it would create. Moments like family vacations where everyone is still together, adventures you're healthy enough to enjoy, Christmases with adult children before their lives get busier, toddler moments with grandchildren that disappear in a blink, years when your body is strong, capable, and active, and the version of retirement you always pictured while you still have the energy to live it. These aren't just items on a bucket list, they're chapters of your life, and once they're gone, they're gone. The biggest risk in retirement isn't running out of money, it's running out of time to enjoy it. Here's how fear steals your best moments. Fear creates relationship friction. A hidden cost of fear is the pressure it puts on relationships. A lot of couples think they're arguing about money, but in actuality, they're arguing about different fears. A Fidelity's couple survey found that more than half of partners disagree about the big financial decisions in retirement: when to retire, how much to spend, and how much to save. And here's where it gets hard. One spouse is often terrified of running out of money, and the other is terrified of running out of life. One might be asking, what if we don't have enough? And the other is asking, what if we wait too long? These are two different fears and two different versions of risk, and both are completely valid, but it's also why these conversations feel so emotional. Fear doesn't just influence your finances, it influences your connection. It influences the tone of your conversations. It helps to influence the plans you make, as well as the memories you do or don't make. Fear doesn't just cost you money, it costs you your closeness, understanding, and the experiences you were meant to share together. Fear magnifies the importance of every decision. Another trap retirees fall into is believing that every financial move, every withdrawal, every investment tweak is absolutely critical. Fear turns simple decisions into high-stake moments. We hear it all the time. What if I retire at the wrong moment? What if I withdraw too much? What if I pick the wrong plan? What if I do it and it ruins everything? But here's what the research consistently shows. Most of these decisions have a very tiny long-term impact. It's not about getting every choice perfectly right. It's about having steady behaviors that compound over time. Small mistakes don't make or break an entire retirement plan, but constantly living in fear of making a mistake, that can wreck a retirement. Fear changes your mindset. It makes every decision feel like it's life and death, when in reality, most retirement decisions are far more forgiving. Fear can turn retirees into market hostages. Fear doesn't just change how retirees spend, it changes how they invest, and this is where the costs can be enormous. Dalbar's annual investor behavior study showed that the average investor underperforms the market by 3 to 6% every single year, almost entirely out of fear-based decisions. Not bad portfolios, not bad investments, but bad reactions. When the market performs poorly, here's what retirees tend to do. They might pull out their investments at the worst possible time. They might move everything to cash just until things calm down. They might miss the recovery and lock in losses that they can't make back. It's not the market that hurts them, it's the emotional decisions they make while the market is moving. Because fear doesn't just make you cautious, it can often make you reactive, and those reactions can cost you more than the market itself. Fear hides the biggest secret of retirement. There's a secret about retirement that most people never learn during their planning years, and it's fear that keeps them from seeing it. You don't need to spend evenly for your plan to work. The research behind the retirement spending smile from Blanchett and JP Morgan show that real spending dips in mid-retirement and rises slightly later in life, but stays significantly lower than early active years. Retirement isn't linear. It unfolds in phases. There will be phases where you spend more, and there will be phases where you spend less. And if you have this idea that you have to build a portfolio that supports an exact level of spending every single year, you very well could delay retirement longer than necessary and end up oversaving. The result is you miss years where your energy is the highest, your health is the strongest, and your memories are just waiting to be made. Because retirement isn't a spreadsheet, it's a life, and fear can keep people from enjoying the years that matter most. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. Fear has a price. It costs you the money you never spend, the time you never get back, and the memories you never get to make. So when you're planning for retirement, the only goal isn't to just not run out of money, but it's also to not run out of life. You've worked hard and saved for decades. Don't let fear rob you of the life you want. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think fear is holding you back in any way? Leave your thoughts and comments down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content, please consider sharing. I'll see you soon. Bye. But instead, I think my tongue is broken. Instead of enjoying, I'm not even sure why I was sitting like this. That is not a posture I have on most days. What do I do with this? I feel like I always have these tiny little hairs. I didn't cut this. Like, I am not trying to have bangs here. My dog is outside the door like, hey, come play with me. The biggest, I got a Lazy Boy years ago. Best couch I ever got. I sleep on that couch a lot. It is so good. American made Lazy Boy. They're not sponsoring me. No one sponsors me. I don't do sponsorships. Unless Vanguard is willing to do a sponsorship. Just wondering, Vanguard, if you're out there listening, I will take a sponsorship. Or Heinz Ketchup, I'll do that one too.